Live. We're here with MP for Central Kingston, Sinclair Leacock, and he's going to talk to us about the estimates and politics in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Mr. Leacock, thank you very much for speaking to us. What are your views of the estimates that Prime Minister Gonzalez presented to Parliament this morning?
Well, Kenton, there's nothing really very earth-shattering about the estimates that have been presented by the Honourable Prime Minister. I think it is done in the context of the existential reality of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Conventionally, a small island state, one that has been battered recently by trough systems, natural disasters, continuing to fend off the international economic circumstances. And from there, we have very little deviation. Every year we make these sorts of complaints that we haven't received the estimates and we need more time to look at it. But when you realistically look at the estimates, the budget, whichever expression you want to look, it's basically down to about 10-15% of discretion with respect to what can be done. The salaries, wages, and pensions take nearly 60% of the budget. Your interest and amortization takes another 10%, therefore that is 70%. The transfers perhaps another 10%, that's 80%. So by and large, on the recurrent side of the budget, you're really looking in a serious way as to what can be done with respect to the provision of goods and services to assist the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because the bulk for public servants is basically to take care of 6,000-7,000 public servants. And that's a discussion I've tried to point people to many times over. Therefore, it requires a degree of creativity to go inside of the ministerial allocations and to make a serious question and a challenge as to what we can do differently in terms of the way we've presented things before. And I certainly intend to do that next week in the budget exercise, more so than in the estimates debate, by examining a particular issue that really, with a little bit of innovation and creativity, we could get much more bang for the buck. So, by and large, what we see here is the demonstration of what the public servants have done of a balancing of the books.
Well, I imagine we'll hear more from you in the estimates and in the budget debate. So let's talk a little bit.
You'll hear more about me in the budget, not in the estimates.
You're not going to speak during the estimates?
I said you'll hear more about me in the estimates.
More from you?
In the budget than in the estimates. The estimates are still in progress and it's still unfolding. And I take both exercises literally. You see, many people come to the Parliament, Kenton, as they should, prepared to make a contribution, but sometimes a little less prepared to debate. And I think very often one ought to be paying attention to what is coming off of the floor and have an appropriate response to the contributions as they flow.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about NDP politics. You're vice president of the NDP.
I am vice president.
You lost in the bid to be, well, you withdrew yourself at the last moment.
I declined, yes.
To become party leader.
Yes.
The NDP is having this convention coming up. Do you plan to contest any position on the NDP executive?
At the last central executive meeting of the New Democratic Party, my party chairman, Michael Adams, informed the New Democratic Party that I would in fact be offering myself for the vice presidentship of the New Democratic Party.
Do you know anybody else who's contending for that position?
I'm aware that Roland Patel Matthews has indicated his intention to compete for one of the vice presidency, and I've heard rumors of other members who have a vice presidential interest, and I would not name that person.
Okay, Mr. Leacock, there seems to be some rift between you and your party. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it as a journalist and as a citizen, but even some of your comments publicly, including in Parliament this morning, seems to be...
Which are this morning's comments?
Like, for instance, you stood and you congratulated the government on the completion of the airport, which in and of itself, I might say, is not a wrong thing to do. But
yeah.
it also seems that it is not something that your party is willing to do.
Well, let's take that, Kenton. We had a parliamentary session this morning. And sometimes, credit should be given where credit should be given. I spoke on obituaries extensively of people who have passed on in my constituency and across the country. I went on, I also spoke on the congratulations, and I've given unconditional congratulations to the completion of the Aga Airport. We have spent over $1 billion, and I've summarized it simply, Kenton. The next generation, my children and grandchildren, would ask the question, what were we quarreling about? Especially when they look at the comparison and the contrast between the Argyle Airport and what we now have, the E.T. Joshua Airport. You wouldn't be able to explain to them the difference. People have argued, rightfully I believe, that the ULP could be punished and should be punished for the significant cost overruns with respect to the airport. But that's all water under the bridge. We have to make the airport function now. We're here, and what do we do with it? But I continue to say, I made an intervention this morning on the floor with respect to minutes to show in a very clever way how the answers given at the last parliamentary by the Minister of Transport and Work with respect to improvement and work on the North River Road did not happen. So that in fact he misled the House, but they had to do that in a very creative way to get that in. I then went on this morning in Kenton to ask 3 questions in the House. A significant one that prefaces what will happen today with respect to this, and I hope it is not lost. Because all that will happen from here on in the debate will show the potency of my question. That is, every year you come with, and I understand my little translate, with $5 in your pocket, and you say to the people, I'm going to buy $7 worth of goods. How can $5 procure $7 worth of goods? You either have to beg, steal, or borrow, or alternatively, don't do some of the things that you say you're going to do. And I think if people are being examined in the budget, they see that what has been happening year after year. Almost all the ministries get shaved off. That is, you don't deliver a lot of the services that you have got the credit for, as say that you would do. Okay? But how many questions should we have today? We should have 27.
Okay, did your party make did the NDP's parliamentary caucus make a determination that they would not ask any questions today?
No.
No. Also, during the...
No, you said I would get me into trouble.
What would get you into trouble?
The fact that there are 3 questions that we should be 27.
No, I would not say that would get you into trouble.
The point is, and you see, that's why I'm sharing with from some interviews, you know, a still higher level of discipline is necessary at times. Politics is about obtaining power, and you have to do all of the things. More than that, Kenton.
Some people say politics is about representing people.
What does it say? Well, you have to represent people, you have to be in the corridors of power.
Really?
But Parliament is the place where you hold government to account. And question times, as you see in the traditional Westminster system, is important in that regard. But I'm trying to show you, Kenton, that on the floor, that on our side of the House, once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times, I've made significant interventions this morning.
Okay, so on the issue of questions, you said questions are important.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm not making any judgment on that. I'm just repeating facts for the benefit of the listeners and the viewers. And when you said that, MP Matthews said, and so are answers, which suggested that, you know, his view maybe is that, yes, we do ask questions, but we do not get answers from the government.
Well, he's right to make that observation that answers are important. But that doesn't negate the fact that you should ask the questions. And I'm sure that members would appreciate and they would support me. And I don't know why their question didn't come in, you know. I really don't know. So I really don't want to get in any contention with the party as you are in fact suggesting. All I do know is that once a parliament session is coming up, I do not wait to the last minute, the 10-day period, to get my questions in. And I follow through to see that they get in. That's all I'm simply saying.
There seems to be some sort of friction between you and the rest of your parliamentary colleagues after this leadership transition.
I have no friction with the party subsequent to that. And the
I talk about the parliamentary caucus.
The parliamentary caucus. And if you inquire, you will discover that I've attended every session that we've had, every strategy meeting, every parliamentary caucus. And I have gone above board to make myself available to be of help to the party, and I've pointed them to a lot of direction. For example, it was and again, you see, it was my suggestion, for example, that the convention be taken to Layo for strategic reasons, because it is a constituency one is preparing for any electoral outcome. And I'm glad to see that went on board. I also, in fact, Kenton, in response to what they asked whether I was offering myself a vice presidency, made the suggestion to my chairman that perhaps the New Democratic Party ought to look at whether or not we should not get rid of the two vice presidentship and just have a party leader and a deputy leader, and go into general elections similarly to what the ULP does, of a leader and a deputy leader, that it is very clear, and that some of the fractions they have within recent times are not repeated. Apparently it won't be carried, but I think that's very important development we could make with respect to our constitution.
Is it true that you no longer speak to some of your parliamentary colleagues?
No, I speak to every single member of my parliament.
And what is the nature of the relationship between you and them?
Very cordial. If it's otherwise, then they should tell me that. But I don't know that I don't speak to any of them. I was at the funeral, for example, at Joe Blabla in Lay 2 Sundays ago. That was in central Leeward. I spent quite a time there with Ben Exeter, and he will tell you that.
Ben is not in the parliamentary caucus.
But he was there. The funeral was in his constituency. And the party had made a decision that after the, when we go to the funeral, we should spend a lot of time at the cemetery, and I made sure I went and did that. I went to the funeral of Mrs. Mayers, who was an early supporter of the New Democratic Party in Calico, and I made sure I gave them full representation. And I have made suggestions of what we could do to support the fundraising efforts. I've been of assistance to the party. I have called him personally, Mr. Friday, as I used to do with Mr. Eustace, just to shoot the breeze until I know all is well and make myself available. I've been on 2 radio programs with Dr. Freitas on Wednesday night to be of assistance to public policy formation. So I've been doing a lot.
But you no longer appear on the New Times program?
I don't have a slot in the New Times program.
Did you not have one with MP Cummins?
There was a spot on Wednesday that was shared between MP Cummins, myself, and Dr. Ferdinand. After the election outcome, I'd asked for Fridays, and Dr. Friday said he wanted Friday. You see, let's speak with candor.
Because that's what I think everybody would appreciate that.
Because there's this pushback on what Major is doing and not Major is doing. From 2001 to 2005, I appeared on the radio every single Friday with the late E.G. Lynch. 5 continuous years. When my senatorial colleague passed on, God bless his soul, Senator Razam Shallow, and Daniel Cummins came to Parliament, I continued on our program for another 5 years, from 2005 or 6 or thereabout to 2010. So that's 10 continuous years. And we in fact named that program Senators Friday. Then it was changed and I was given to this slot on Wednesdays, and for 5 more years, I did a weekly radio program. In other words, I can say that I've been on radio every week for 15 years. And mind you, Kenton, I'm the one who named that program. I'm the one who designed the program, conceptualized it, did the jingles for it. I had a piece on the radio for 15 years. Did Dr. Friday appear on the radio for 15 continuous years? Now, if I say that again, my public criticism, and everybody wants this pushback, he's now for the first time doing a weekly radio program. First time.
Some people might look at the fact that Mr. Eustace appears on Monday, and one of the observations I've heard is that the leader of the party should appear early in the week and set whatever the tone or the speaking points.
Well, I told you, Dr. Friday said to me he wanted to appear on Fridays and to play on the name Friday for Fridays, and I accepted his argument.
Do you think that's a good strategic move?
I don't want to make any comment on it, personally. I really decline any comment.
Where do you see yourself going? There's some people who feel that after the leadership transition, you've engaged in certain actions and said certain things that might have...
Well, what are the actions I've engaged in?
Like some of the things that you might have, like you came to Parliament, you gave a very rambling speech. It wasn't very clear, at least to me as a listener.
Which speech? Oh, well,
what you were saying...
I don't think I was rambling at all. I was very clear in my own mind what I said. Maybe if I failed to be coherent to you, I apologize. But
okay,
I was
but
very clear.
I know you did say that you have 15 minutes and we're quickly running out of that. Did you discuss with the central...
Yesterday Sunday, I was in Block 2000 Old Montrose with my party group planning for a major event for March 14th, what we will call the Remember Tannies Day. It's going to be very important to me and to our constituency, for that southern part of the constituency, because it leads to a lot of things.
But
last Thursday, I was at the executive meeting of all my party groups in Green Hill. On Friday last, I was in Paul's Avenue, and then I was in Lago Heights doing political work. And throughout the week, I was at various functions doing political work for the party. So what more activism do you want?
If you don't mind. Did you discuss with your party group crossing the floor and sitting among the government benches?
Well, I don't see why you should discuss it when that has not arisen.
So there was no discussion of it?
No, I have not given any consideration to crossing.
No consideration. So then people who say, well, you crossed the floor physically but not politically.
They're being malicious.
Like the last time you went over and you embraced the Prime Minister.
I didn't cross the floor.
But you walked across the floor.
But that has happened time and time again. The Prime Minister comes across, many members of the DSI come across, and many of us.
But not in those circumstances.
A huge stretch. Very huge stretch.
Okay, so anything that you'd like to say to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, your supporters?
Listen, all of my life, inside and outside of politics, I've been for the good of St. Vincent and Grenadines, publicly. And I will continue to look at what's good and best for the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I am serving now, and I anticipate that the New Democratic Party will exercise good sense when it comes to the next convention in choosing the vice presidentship. And I have no objection against the democratic process because that's the name of the party, the New Democratic Party. So anybody should feel to contest the election. Once I be elected back to serve as a vice president, I will continue to give them my service.
Are you confident that you would be re-elected?
I'm very confident. Very, very confident. I don't see anything that stands in the way.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Leacock. Let me just end this video.